praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh. Bahasham Yahushua, Bahasham Rachakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and wherever you may be. Wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom and Shalom. All right, Deuteronomy chapter 24. And it says law of divorce. So going straight into it, it says, when a man had taken a wife and married her, and it come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he hath found some uncleanness in her, then let him write her a bill of divorcement, and give it in her hand, and send her out of his house. And ironically, because of this, the curses that we're under in this destroyed society, this Western civilization, you have women who initiate more divorces and marriages than you do men. Okay, by a landslide. All right, it's women. They'll do all this whining and crying and complaining. Oh, man, this, man, that. All right, talk about families and households, but it's them who actually initiate the divorces, majority. But anyways, the word for here is karyathwath. So it says divorce, dismissal, divorcement. So just straightforward. Let's see what karath goes into. Look, to cut off, cut down, cut off a body part, cut out, eliminate, kill, cut a covenant. Yeah, cut a covenant. Because marriage is sort of like a covenant. It's like an agreement. Because you join together. Because in order to finalize the marriage, they have sexual intercourse. All right. Now the two have become one flesh. They've joined together. Let me go back here. Let's get the word for bill. All right. Sapar, which we know sapar means book, but missive, document, or writing, book. Because it's talking about what? Here's a letter of instruction, a written order, commission, request, written decree. Yeah, and that's why it says it give it her in her hand. Let's go back. See, it says then let him write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. All right. Now in the NLT, supporting reading the NLT, it says, suppose a man marries a woman, but she does not please him, having discovered something wrong with her. He writes her a letter of divorce, hands it to her, and sends her away from his house. And the reason why it's important to read the NLT, because it lets you know you can't just, because once you join to a woman, you can't just throw her out, put her away. All right, there has to be a particular fault. Well, I won't say particular, like there's a list of certain faults, but there has to be something where you find her no longer your wife, like for example, adultery or something like that. All right, she so-called cheated on you, or something like that. All right, it has to be an actual serious reason. You can't just one day after 8 years, like, I'm tired of looking at this chick, I'm about to write you a bill of divorcement, you just get rid of her. No. So it says, and when she is departed out of his house, she may go and be another man's wife. And if the latter husband hate her and write her a bill of divorcement, so the first husband put her out, divorced her, so she's able to marry another man. Now she gets with the second man. Okay. Excuse me. It says, and write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. Or if the latter husband die. All right. So let me slow down for a second. So it says, if the second husband give her a bill of divorcement in her hand and send her out of his house. So he did the same thing the first husband. And so that actually makes you think about these modern day women, man, where with these modern day women, because they always talk about the men this, men that. It'll be a very beautiful chick, but she be single. All right. So you got to question if you look this good, because men like looks. It's different than looks, but yeah, looks is the thing that immediately attracts you, especially if you got a body with it. But you see this chick who looks this good, there's got to be something wrong with her for her to be single, or maybe she just can't keep a man. All right, maybe because out of their mouth is always the men, but they never look inside themselves. And 9 times out of 10, it's always that woman, because she has a smart mouth, or she thinks looks is everything, or the woman is the prize, or whatever. So 9 times out of 10, it'll be the woman. Okay, But anyways, it says, or if the latter husband die, which took her to be his wife. Okay, so that first husband dies. All right, so she got a bill of divorcement from first husband and second husband. Then it says, or if the first husband dies, basically what it says here, her former husband, which sent her away, all right, cannot take, threw me off. Doggone, let me read this again. And if the latter husband hate her, okay, so the second husband hate her and write her a bill of divorcement and give it in her hand and sending her out of his house, all right, or if the latter husband die, all right, so if the second husband dies, excuse me, I think I said the first husband the first time. If the second husband gives her a bill of divorcement, or if the second husband dies, which took her to be his wife, the former husband, which is the first husband she married that divorced her, or her former husband, which sent her away, may not take her again to be his wife. After that, she is defiled because he was originally her husband. Sexual intercourse, all right. So you're supposed to be with one man all your life, but in this occasion here where you're divorced, you're able to find a second husband, all right. But if that second husband puts her away, okay, or if he dies, the first husband can't take her back, all right. And this sin is straightforward. In the NLT, it says the first husband may not marry her again, for she has been defiled, all right, because she's been gone into by two different men, and so. All right, so it says that would be detestable to Yahweh. You must not bring guilt upon the land of your power. Yahweh is giving you as a special possession. And finished off from the NLT, the KJV says, for that is abomination before Yahweh, and thou shalt not cause the land to sin, which Yahweh thy power giveth thee for an inheritance. When a man had taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war. Now we talked about this in an earlier chapter. All right. If you just built a house, all right, you can't go to war. I think if you just planted a vineyard and you've not even gleaned the grapes harvested the grapes to make wine, to drink the new wine of the grapes, eat the grapes and drink the wine that comes from the grapes. All right, go home and do that. Don't go to war. Okay. And if you are just afraid, if you're a coward, just straight take your ass home. Okay. Because that's definitely going to weaken the morale of the men who are not afraid. So it says, when a man had taken a new wife, okay, and oh yeah, well, I guess the woman is the only one we didn't mention there, but the woman, right? If you have not, had even intercourse with your woman, you're engaged to your woman, you might be at war, at war, just sitting here thinking about this woman you're engaged to, or maybe that well, yeah, engaged, because that means you haven't actually solidified the marriage, which was by having sexual intercourse, right? So it says, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife, which he had taken. Yeah, because when you're in matters of war, all right, you never know. You might not come back home. Now, of course, you may say, well, wait a minute, but I thought the Lord will fight for Israel. Yeah, of course he does. If he tells you to go and do something, you got it. And if he gives you certain stipulations of how to carry out the battle, battle plans or formations or whatever, do it and you got it. But if the Lord tells you not to go to war and you actually still go, try to go up against this, neighboring town or whatever, and the Lord didn't tell you to go, you're going to lose. All right. So you didn't know. All right. War is still war. So you didn't know if you were coming home or not, because remember, all things are of the Lord. All right. Everybody's at the Lord's mercy. The Lord controls all things. But to get back on topic, NOT says a newly married man must not be drafted into the army or be given any other official responsibilities. He must be free to spend 1 year at home, bringing happiness to the wife he has married. Yep, and y'all actually may end up having a baby too. So if he comes back home to war, he's coming back home to an actual family now. All right, because he has a wife and now he has a child. So verse 6, sundry law said, no man shall take the no excuse me, no man shall take the nether or the upper millstone to pledge, for he taketh a man's life to pledge, because as it will read the NLT, it is wrong to take a set of millstones or even just the upper millstone as security for a loan, for the owner uses it to make a living. All right. And women back in the ancient days, the women would be up grinding the mill. All right. Early, every day, fresh. Like you have few. All right. Really a couple, if I really think about it. But, Very, very few stores actually make bread fresh, every morning. All right. A lot of these places will have it, use it from yesterday or whatever, but there's only a few stores that actually will make bread fresh every single day. Okay. And in case you don't know what a millstone is, maybe we can pull up a picture. I'm not entirely sure. Okay, yeah. Well, here's millstone. Okay. Well, let's just do this. Matter of fact, let's grab all of that upper millstone. There you go, millstone. Bam. So this is what they would use back in the ancient days. Okay. And for some, it might have been, not just for food, or whatever. It could have actually been part of their business. Okay. So that pledge. Okay. Let me go back. Yeah, and there's the word pledge right there. All right, chabal. All right, to bind. Yep, because this was an agreement. All right, all right, this is the agreement we're making, and you know what? I need some security. I need to know. All right, so I'm gonna give you my upper millstone, or I'm gonna give you my, my coat, my outer garment, or whatever. Right, which it talks about these different things. All right, so that's just all part of the agreement to let basically so that the other party, all right, is not gonna break, this agreement in any kind of way. It says, if a man be found stealing any of his brethren of the children of Israel, and maketh merchandise of him, or selleth them, then that thief shall die, and thou shalt put evil away from among you. Take heed in the plague of leprosy, that thou observe diligently, which I believe it covered this in, I think this is Numbers 10 or 11, where it talks about this, which it goes into a lot dealing with that. But it says, observe diligently and do according to all that the priest, the Levite, shall teach you, because there's a whole entire process the priests have to, check off on, to consider a person clean or unclean. It says, as I commanded them, so ye shall observe to do. And I think there's an account. Man, I don't think that was leprosy though. Or was it? I can't remember exactly. But I believe there was an account in the New Testament with Yahushua where he healed him. No, I don't think that was leprosy. Was it? I can't remember exactly, but I know he healed a man and told him to go and see the priest, and he had to also take the proper sacrifice, because going back to that chapter, Numbers, I think it's 10 or 11. After everything was said and done, okay, there had to be a certain sacrifice that was given. So Yahushua told him, even though Yahushua was the one that healed him, he still told him to go through the proper channels by going and seeing the priest, so that he's in the clear, and then also giving up the proper sacrifice, to finalize everything. So yeah. So it says, remember what the Lord Yahweh thy power did unto Miriam by the way, after that ye were come forth out of Egypt. Yeah, going into Miriam, she was turned leprous. All right, like you see a so-called white person look today, and like the I don't know if everybody's seen it, but most of us have seen it, the Ten Commandments movie. All right. They left out that scene there, because when you read the scriptures, it's definitely in the Bible, obviously, because that's the truth. But in the movie, they leave out the scene where Moses is supposed to put his hand in his bosom and pull it out, and it became leprous, white. All right. Why is that? Because Moses was a brown-skinned man. So in order for him to achieve that, he couldn't have had a so-called white-looking person play that role, because their hand is already white. Unless he was playing blackface. But yeah. So unless which that, even though it doesn't exactly evolve color, it sparks your imagination to really realize that, hey, yeah, something's got to be up here. All right, because lepers looks as similar to the so-called Edomites, the so-called white people skin today, the Edomites, which lets you know that Moses and all these different patriarchs and forefathers and foremothers, right, the children of Israel were not so-called white people. All right, they were people of color. But anyways, that's what happened. Miriam And you notice also it says Miriam, even though Miriam and was also Aaron. Yeah, Miriam and Aaron. Okay, both of them. Okay, but Miriam being a woman was way more out of line than Aaron. Okay, and so Miriam was struck with the plague. She had to be away from the camp, out there in the wilderness by herself. She probably hearing all kind of strange rustling noises, and she's probably terrified out there by herself with this leopard skin on her. Okay, but she had to be put away from the camp. All right. It says, remember what the Lord Yahweh thy power did unto Miriam by the way, after that ye were come forth out of Egypt, going to the making her skin so-called white. When thou doest lend thy brother anything, thou shalt not go into his house to fetch his pledge. Okay, now we just talked about a similar thing up above dealing with pledge, right? About the upper millstone or the lower millstone. I want to get the word pledge. All right. All right. It says, Ibawat. Okay. Pledge, a thing. There you go. See, we mentioned that. See, beautiful. A thing given as security. You see, I want some kind of security that you're not going, break this agreement that we're making here. Pledge, a thing given as security. Article, pledged as security for a debt. You see, but it goes into how you deal with that. All right. So it says, thou shalt stand abroad, and the man to whom thou doest lend shall bring out the pledge abroad unto thee. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep. There you go. Thou shalt not sleep with this pledge. Now, real quick to hit on verse 10 and 11. All right. He don't borrow your shovel. Okay. When you come and get the shovel back, you don't go in there, walk around looking. I mean, I know it's in here somewhere. Just give me a second. I forget exactly where I left it, but I know it's from one of these rooms. And you go in there, you start looking through rooms along with him. Like, what the hell are you doing? No, you stand outside and wait till he finds out where he placed the shovel so he can bring it to you. All right. And if the man be poor, thou shalt not sleep with this pledge. Now, in the NLT, it says, if your neighbor is poor and gives you his cloak as security for a loan, do not keep the cloak overnight. Why? Return the cloak to its owner by sunset so he can stay warm through the night and bless you. Because as he just said, he's poor. And this may be all he has. All right. Or some of the few things that he has, especially, his outer coat. And, because nights get cold. Okay. So, all right. So don't keep that. That's evil. He can stay warm through the night and bless you. And Yahweh your power will count you as righteous. See, 13 KJV. If any man, if in any case thou shalt deliver him the pledge again when the sun goeth down, that he may sleep in his own raiment and bless thee, and it shall be righteousness unto thee before Yahweh thy power. All right. So no, in other words, it's telling you to have compassion, consideration. Okay. Even though you're entering into this agreement with this individual, still have consideration on this person. Verse 14, thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in thy land within thy gates. All right. Now, when it says strangers here, it's talking about Israelite foreigners, Israelites that came from abroad to live amongst you. All right. Notice the law always deals with, all right, when we're in certain occasions, if it has to mention the heathens, the law is going to tell you how to deal with the Israelites on this same matter versus how you deal with a heathen on that same matter. All right. So this is talking about Israel, because nowhere in the scriptures does it there is there favor for heathens. Okay. And the law is for us. Never take advantage of poor and destitute laborers, whether they are fellow Israelites or for foreigners living in your towns, foreign Israelites living amongst you. All right, because they could be on a travel. Maybe they're just stopping through and they came amongst this bigger group of their own people to live. Or I say to sojourn for a while as they pass through, or whatever the case may be, or just come to live permanently. However the case may be, he's talking about Israelites. At his day, thou shalt give him his hire. Neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor. Unlike Esau, okay, where you get paid either weekly or bi-weekly or by the month, okay? But you're supposed to get your wages every single day. And then with the few, because there are a few jobs out there, but given a particular job that you may do, but you can get your wages in the same day, but then Esau still tax you on it. All right, whether you're getting paid by day, by week, bi-weekly, or by month, Esau still taxes you. All right. Income tax. How is this my money, but then I'll owe you money back off of my own money? It doesn't make sense. Okay. So, but that's the devil's system, but it's okay. But get back on point. It says, and his day, at his day, thou shalt give him his hire, neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor, and set his heart upon it. Yeah, because this may be, maybe he ain't ate in the last 2 days, all right? Or maybe, well, if he's getting paid every day, okay, so this is how he eats every single day. He doesn't have any extra. He doesn't have much to go on. So he needs his wages every single day so he can make sure that the least that he does is get some food and drink. Okay? So lest he cry against thee unto Yahweh, and it be sin unto thee. See? Which is wicked. And I actually I ain't gonna talk about it, but yeah, I've seen people in modern day times, actually cheat people of their wages, all right, of having a business and stuff like that, and it's wickedness. Okay, so it says the fathers shall not put to death for the children. The father shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. All right, yep. And that's straightforward. There's not much to say about that, but we can read the NLT. Parents must not be put to death for the sins of their children, nor children for the sins of their parents. Those deserving to die must be put to death for their own crimes. Now, a little side note though, children are innocent until a certain age. All right. Once you got into a certain age, you're no longer innocent. Now you can start paying for, your own crimes. All right. Should you commit them? All right. Verse 17, thou shalt not pervert the judgment of the stranger, nor of the father. Once again, strangers being the Israelites, nor of the fatherless, nor take a widow's raiment to pledge. So here we go back to the pledge again. All right. NLT, true justice must be given to foreigners living among you and to orphans. Now, what's true justice? According to the law that was given. So who was the law given to? The nation of Israel. This is why we just mentioned inside the law, it tells you everything about how Israelites are to deal with Israelites. But there are certain occasions where it tells you how to deal with heathens. So why is that separate? Like with dealing with slaves. There's a certain way where you treat a Hebrew servant versus how you treat a heathen servant. All right. So there you go. But so this is talking about Israelites. And you must never accept a widow's garment as security for her debt. A widow is one who's lost her husband, because she could be single by herself, or she could be left with children. All right, because her husband's passed away. Always remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and that Yahweh, your power, redeemed you from your slavery. That is why I have given you this command. That's said multiple times, all right, over several chapters. Remember how it was for you in Egypt. So don't go oppressing your own people the same way that you were oppressed in Egypt. All right, because I've given you freedom now. Okay, even though you still have a law that you have to follow, you are free from heathens and their ways. All right, and their society. KJV 18, but thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and Yahweh thy power redeemed thee thence. All right, redeemed you from there. Therefore I command thee to do this thing. 19, when thou cuttest down thy harvest in thy field, and hast forgot a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that Yahweh thy power may bless thee in all the work of thine hands, which I believe we mentioned in the last chapter. Okay? If there's something left, leave it for them. Okay? Verse 20 says, when thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And if you read verse 20 in the NLT, it says, when you beat the olives from your olive trees, don't go over the boughs twice. Leave the remaining olives for the foreigners, other Israelites, orphans, and widows, also other Israelites. Okay? But it's always, important to point out when it talks about foreigners there. It's not talking about heathens, man. Okay? It actually comes up as stranger in the KJV. Gar, sojourner, see, a temporary inhabitant, a newcomer lacking inherited rights. Of foreigners in Israel, though conceded rights, right? Israelites that came to live amongst their people. If I do this in the NLT side, it actually might come up. Actually, it comes up as alien in the NLT side. But it's the same definition there. So there you go. Stranger, foreigner, alien. All referring to Israelites that came amongst their bigger group of their own people. Verse 21, when thou gatherest the grapes out of thy vineyard, thou shalt not glean it afterwards. Okay. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widows. Talking about the same people, Israelites. Now, you get this word glean here. All right. If I can find it. Did I pass it? I think I passed it. Oh, here it is. Thou shalt glean. The word is ilal. Okay. It says to act severely, deal with severely, make a fool of someone, which that's not the definition there. Let's see if we can get something else out of this. Or maybe we might get the little extract information. Yeah. Okay, here you go. Historical. I'm going to light it up so you can see it. Gather leftover grain or other produce after a harvest. All right. So once you gather what you gathered and you look back and realize you left some, leave it. Okay. For who? The strangers, Israelite foreigners that came to live amongst you, the fatherless, and for the widow. See? And I'm not sure if glean will come up in the NLT side. We can always check. So it doesn't even have the word in there in the NLT. But you get it. NLT 21. When you gather the grapes in your vineyard, don't glean the vines after they are picked. Leave the remaining grapes for the foreigners or orphans and widows. Remember that you were slaves in the land of Egypt. That is why I'm giving you this command. 22 KJV. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I command thee to do this thing. All right. So that was actually a very short and very straightforward chapter there, Deuteronomy 24 chapter. So, Lord willing, you will edify. Shalom.